The transport shuttle moved slowly toward the massive space station. Inside, Kate Murphy pressed her face against the window and stared at the structure ahead. It was bigger than anything she had ever seen. The Galactic Coalition Academy floated in space like a small moon, its silver surface reflecting light from the distant star. Kate was 22 years old and scared. She tried not to show it. Around her sat 49 other humans, all wearing the same gray uniform. They were the first humans ever invited to train at this academy. For 300 years, Earth had been too far away and too weak to join the coalition. Now everything had changed. The shuttle docked with a soft thump. Kate grabbed her bag and followed the others into the station. The hangar bay was enormous. Ships from 100 different worlds lined the walls. And everywhere she looked, she saw aliens. Some were tall, some were short. Some had scales, some had fur. There were beings with 4 arms, beings with wings, beings that looked like walking insects. Kate had studied the different species before leaving Earth, but seeing them in person was different. It was overwhelming. A group of large aliens stood near the entrance. They had bronze-colored scales and stood over 7 feet tall. Their muscles bulged under their skin. They looked at the humans and laughed. Kate heard one of them say something in a language she did not understand. His friends laughed harder. A woman in a commander's uniform walked toward the human group. She was older, maybe 50, with gray hair cut short. Her face was hard but not unkind. "I am Commander Lisa Grant," she said. "I am your liaison officer. Follow me and stay together. This place can be dangerous if you do not know the rules." They walked through wide corridors filled with cadets from every species. Kate noticed how everyone stared at the humans. Some looked curious. Most looked amused. A few looked disgusted. She kept her eyes forward and tried to ignore them. The assembly hall was huge. Thousands of cadets filled the seats. Commander Grant led the humans to a section marked for them. As they sat down, Kate felt the weight of all those eyes watching them. She heard whispers and clicking sounds from the aliens around them. The translation device in her ear turned some of it into words she could understand. "So small," one voice said. "How did they even get accepted?" said another. "They will not last a week." Commander Grant stood before them and began to speak. "You are here because Earth has finally been invited to join the Coalition military program. This is an honor, but it is also a test. Most species here do not think humans belong. They think we are too weak, too soft. Your job is to prove them wrong." She paused and looked at each of them. "The training here is brutal. The other species come from worlds where survival means being stronger or faster than everything else. They have natural advantages we do not have. But remember this, humans did not reach the top of the food chain on Earth by being the strongest. We got there by being the most stubborn." Kate felt a small fire start in her chest. She was not the strongest person here. She was not the fastest. But she could be stubborn. That was something she knew how to do. The first week was exactly as hard as Commander Grant had warned. Every morning started before dawn with running drills. Kate ran as fast as she could, but aliens passed her easily. Species with long legs covered twice the distance in half the time. She finished in the bottom third every single day. Strength training was worse. The equipment was designed for aliens who could lift 3 times what humans could manage. Kate watched a cadet who looked like a bear lift weights that would have crushed her. When it was her turn, she could barely move the bar. The instructor, a 4-armed alien named Zexel, shook his head and moved on without saying anything. But the worst part was not the physical training. It was the looks. The other cadets watched the humans fail and nodded as if they had known this would happen. Kate heard them talking when they thought no one was listening. "Waste of space," one said. "They should send them home before someone gets hurt," said another. Kate's roommate was an alien named Shiara. She had purple skin and moved like a dancer. Her people were called the Vexi, and they were 3 times faster than humans. At first, Shiara did not talk much. She would come into their shared room, change clothes, and leave. But after a few days, she started asking questions. "Why do humans join this academy?" Shiara asked one night. "You must know you cannot compete with warrior species." Kate was sitting on her bed, rubbing sore muscles. "We are here to learn and to prove we are not as weak as everyone thinks." Shiara tilted her head. "But you are weak. I have seen the test scores. Humans finish last in almost everything physical." "Last does not mean useless," Kate said. "It just means we have to work harder." The Vexi girl thought about this. "You are strange. Most species would give up. But you humans keep trying even when you fail. I do not understand why. Kate smiled despite her exhaustion. Maybe that is exactly why we are here. To show you something different. The days continued in the same pattern. Wake up before dawn, run until her legs burned, lift weights that felt impossible. Study tactics and strategy until her eyes could not focus anymore. Then sleep for a few hours before starting again. Kate was not the only one struggling. All the human cadets were at the bottom of every physical ranking. But they did not quit. In the evenings, they met in the gym and trained together. They pushed each other harder. They studied videos of fighting techniques from Earth. They learned from their failures and came back the next day to fail better. Commander Grant visited them often. She watched them train and gave advice. Remember, she said, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Humans are built for endurance. The other species are faster and stronger, but they get tired quicker. That is your advantage. You can keep going when they cannot. Kate held on to those words. She might finish last in the sprint, but she could run all day if she had to. She might lift less weight, but she could do more repetitions. She might be weaker, but she could endure more pain. 3 weeks passed. Kate had bruises on top of bruises. Her muscles ached constantly. But she was getting stronger. Slowly, gradually, she was adapting, and she was not alone. All around her, the other humans were changing too. They were becoming harder, tougher, more determined. Then came the announcement about arena combat trials. Every cadet would have to fight. Kate felt her stomach twist when she heard the news. She had trained in martial arts back on Earth, but that was different. Here she would face beings who could break her bones without trying. She looked around at the other species and saw them getting excited. For them, this was a chance to prove their strength. For humans, it was going to be a chance to survive. Kate did not know it yet, but everything was about to change. The galaxy was about to learn something important about humans, and it would start with one challenge in front of thousands of watching eyes. The arena was the largest room Kate had ever seen. It was circular and massive, with seats rising up on all sides like a bowl. In the center was a fighting platform 200 feet wide. Energy barriers surrounded it, creating a safe space for spectators to watch without getting hurt. Medical teams waited on both sides with equipment that could heal almost any injury. Kate sat with the other human cadets in their assigned section. Around them, thousands of aliens filled the seats. The noise was incredible. Every species was cheering and talking, creating a sound like thunder that never stopped. Kate felt small and out of place. On the other side of the arena, a group of bronze-scaled aliens stood together. They were Tharn, the most respected warrior species in the Coalition. One of them was particularly large, standing 7 feet tall with muscles that looked carved from stone. His name was Vecthor, and Kate had heard stories about him. He had never lost a fight. Not once in his entire life. Vecthor wore metal bands on his arms. Each band represented a victory in combat. Kate counted them quickly. There were 47 bands. She swallowed hard and looked away. The matches began. Kate watched as cadets from different species fought each other. A Drokar, one of the bear-like aliens, fought a four-armed Kravaxi. They hit each other with incredible force. The platform shook with each impact. The Drokar won after 3 minutes of brutal combat. Next, a Vexi fought a reptilian Sirathi. The Vexi was so fast that Kate could barely follow the movements. It was like watching lightning fight. The match ended in under a minute. Kate felt her hands shaking. These were not friendly sparring matches. This was real combat. The medical teams ran onto the platform after each fight to heal broken bones and torn muscles. How was she supposed to survive against beings like this? Beside her, Shiara leaned close. "Are you nervous?" the Vexi girl asked. Yes, Kate admitted. There was no point in lying, that is wise. These fights are dangerous even for warrior species. Before Kate could respond, a loud voice echoed through the arena. It was Vecthor. He was standing at the railing of his section looking down at the humans. His golden eyes were fixed on their group. "Look at the humans," he said in Trade Common, the language everyone in the Coalition used. His voice was deep and carried easily through the arena. They sit there pretending to be warriors. It is an insult to this academy. The arena grew quieter as people turned to listen. Kate felt her heart start to pound. This was not good. Vecthor continued, his voice full of contempt. Perhaps someone should show them they do not belong here. Perhaps someone should remind them what real warriors look like. Commander Grant was standing nearby. She caught Kate's eye and shook her head slightly. The message was clear: do not respond. Do not let him provoke you. But Vector was not finished. He pointed directly at Kate. His finger seemed huge from where she sat. You there. Small female. Do you even know how to fight, or did they send you here to learn how to run away? The entire arena went silent. Thousands of eyes turned toward Kate. She felt frozen in her seat. This was not just an insult. Among the Tharn people, this was an official challenge. If she did not respond, everyone would think all humans were cowards. Kate felt anger burning in her chest. She had worked so hard to get here. She had trained every day since she was a child. She had given up everything to come to this academy, and now this alien was calling her weak in front of everyone. She stood up slowly. Her legs felt shaky, but she kept her voice steady. If you want to find out, step into the arena. The crowd erupted. Some aliens cheered. Others gasped in shock. The humans around Kate looked terrified. Shiara grabbed her arm. Kate, no, the Vexy girl whispered urgently. You cannot fight him. Vector has never lost. He broke a Drokar's arm last week. The medical team said it was the worst break they had seen in years. You need to take back your words. But Kate could not take them back. Not now. Every human in the academy was watching. If she backed down, they would all become targets. Someone had to stand up. Someone had to show the aliens that humans were not fragile toys that broke easily. Vector smiled, showing sharp teeth. Very well, fragile one. Tomorrow we fight. I will show the galaxy what happens when weak species pretend to be warriors. Try not to break too quickly. I want this to be interesting. He turned and walked away with his friends. They were laughing and congratulating him on his easy victory. Kate sat back down, and suddenly her whole body was shaking. What had she just done? The other humans gathered around her. They all looked worried. You do not have to do this, one of them said. His name was Paul, and he was from California. You can withdraw. There is no shame in recognizing when a fight is too dangerous. But Kate shook her head. If I withdraw now, every single one of us becomes a target. They will know they can push us around. Someone has to show them we are not afraid. That night, Kate could not sleep. She lay in her bed and stared at the ceiling. Tomorrow she would fight Vector. Tomorrow she might end up in the medical bay with broken bones. Or worse, there was a knock on her door. Commander Grant entered without waiting for an answer. The older woman looked tired and worried. I heard what happened, Grant said, sitting down on the edge of Kate's bed. You do not have to do this. I can arrange for you to withdraw due to medical concerns. No one would question it. Everyone would question it, Kate said. And they would be right to. I challenged him. I have to follow through. Grant was quiet for a moment. I was hoping you would say that. Listen to me carefully, Kate. I have studied Tharn physiology. They are stronger and faster than humans. But they have a weakness. Kate sat up. What weakness? Endurance. The Tharn are built for explosive power. Their muscles are incredibly strong, but they burn through energy quickly. They are sprinters, not marathon runners. If you can survive the first few minutes, he will start to tire, and that is when you have a chance. On what about their strength? Kate asked. He can break my bones with a single hit. Then do not let him hit you cleanly, Grant said. Use your training. Move, dodge, make him chase you, and when you do strike, commit everything. Hit him with all your strength and all your will. Show him what human determination looks like. After Grant left, Kate got up and went to the training room. It was late, but she needed to move. She spent 2 hours working through her techniques. Punches, kicks, grappling moves, everything she had learned in her years of martial arts training. Dan Fletcher, the human combat instructor, found her there. He was a former soldier, short but powerfully built. Could not sleep either, he asked. No, Kate said, hitting the practice dummy again. Fletcher watched her for a minute. You have good technique. But technique alone will not be enough against Vector. You need to understand something important. What? The Tharn have never fought someone like you. They have fought other strong species, other fast species, but they have never fought someone who can take damage and keep fighting. Someone who can endure pain that would stop anyone else. That is what makes humans dangerous. Kate stopped punching and looked at him. You think I can win? I think you can surprise him, Fletcher said. And sometimes that is enough. The next morning came too quickly. Kate got dressed in her combat uniform and walked to the arena. Her hands were not shaking anymore. She felt calm, almost detached. This was happening. There was no point in being afraid now. Commander Grant met her outside the preparation room. Remember everything we talked about. Survive the first rush. Make him work. Outlast him. Kate nodded and entered the room. Inside, she wrapped her hands carefully and went through her warm-up routine. She heard the crowd gathering outside. The noise grew louder and louder until it sounded like an ocean. It was time. Kate walked through the tunnel toward the arena floor. Each step echoed in the quiet corridor. Behind her, the noise of the crowd grew louder. Thousands of beings were waiting to watch her fight. Most of them expected her to lose quickly. She emerged into the light and the sound hit her like a physical force. The crowd was screaming. Some were cheering for Vector. Others were just excited to see combat. Kate looked up at the seats and found the human section. All 49 of her fellow cadets were there. Their faces were tight with worry. Commander Grant stood at the front, her expression unreadable. Vector was already on the platform. He had removed his jacket, and Kate could see every muscle under his bronze scales. He looked like a statue come to life. When he moved, his muscles rippled. The warrior bands on his arms caught the light. 47 victories, soon to be 48. Kate walked to her mark on the opposite side of the platform. She was so much smaller than him. She barely reached his chest in height. Anyone watching could see this was not a fair fight. The referee, a reptilian alien named Corvan, stood in the center. His scales were green and he moved with careful precision. This combat trial is sanctioned by Academy regulations, he announced. His voice was translated into every language through the speakers. Both fighters have passed medical clearance. The match continues until one fighter yields, loses consciousness, or I stop it. Are both fighters ready? Vector slammed his fist against his chest. The sound was like a drum. Ready, Kate nodded. Her throat was too tight to speak. Ready, begin. Vector moved like an avalanche. He crossed the distance between them in 2 huge steps. His fist came at Kate's head with terrible speed. The punch would have knocked her out instantly if it connected. But Kate had been watching his shoulders. She saw the punch coming a split second before it arrived. She slipped to the side. The punch missed her face by inches. She felt the air move past her cheek. Then she was inside his guard, close enough to smell the alien scent of his skin. She drove her knee up with every bit of strength in her body. The impact sent pain shooting through her leg. It was like kneeing a wall made of steel. But she felt the hit land. She saw Vector's golden eyes widen in surprise. He stumbled back 1 step. The crowd's roar changed. The sound became confused. This was not how these fights started. The weak species was not supposed to attack first. Kate did not give him time to recover. She pivoted and kicked his lead leg as hard as she could. Her shin connected with his knee. The sound echoed through the arena. Vector's leg buckled slightly, then she punched him in the ribs. Once, twice, 3 times. Each punch hurt her hand. His body was like armor. But she was not trying to knock him out with a single hit. She was trying to send a message. I will not break easily. Vector's surprise turned to anger. He swung a backhand at her head with enough force to take it off. But Kate ducked under the strike and hit him again. This time she targeted his damaged knee. She saw him wince. The crowd was going wild now. This was not supposed to be happening. The human was not supposed to be attacking. She was supposed to be defending, trying to survive. But Kate was doing the opposite. She was being aggressive. She was hurting him. Vector roared and caught her with a grazing blow to the shoulder. Even though it was not a direct hit, the force was incredible. Kate spun across the platform, her left arm immediately going numb. Pain exploded through her shoulder. She rolled with the momentum and came up in a crouch. Her left arm hung uselessly at her side. She could not feel her fingers. The shoulder might be broken or dislocated. But she pushed the pain away and kept moving. Vector charged. He was done being careful. He was done being surprised. Now he was going to end this fight. His massive hand grabbed her injured arm and Kate felt bones grinding together. The pain was worse than anything she had ever felt. It took all her willpower not to scream, but Kate had been hurt before. She had broken bones in training. She had torn muscles and dislocated joints. She knew pain. She knew how to function through it. And she knew what to do next. She twisted her body using his grip as an anchor. Then she drove her heel into his damaged knee with everything she had. She felt something give way. Vector grunted and his grip loosened. Kate tore free and created distance. They circled each other. Both were breathing hard now. Vector was limping. His knee was hurt worse than before. Kate's left arm hung useless at her side. They had been fighting for less than 2 minutes, but both were damaged. The arena had gone almost silent. Everyone was watching in disbelief. This was not the quick victory they expected. The human was still fighting. Vector came at her again, but differently this time. He was being careful now. He was treating her like a real threat. He threw measured strikes, testing her defenses. Kate defended with her good arm and used her footwork to stay away from his power. He landed a body shot that drove the air from her lungs. Then another. Kate felt her ribs crack. Each breath sent sharp pains through her chest. But she stayed on her feet and kept moving. 5 minutes passed. Then 6. Vector's breathing became heavy. His movement slowed. The Tharn warrior had never fought this long before. His body was not designed for it. His muscles were built for explosive power, not endurance. Kate saw her chance. She had been watching his pattern. Every time he threw a right hand, he dropped his left slightly. It was a small mistake, but it was enough. When the next right hand came, Kate did not dodge backward. She stepped inside and caught his extended arm. Then she drove her forehead into his face. The headbutt made her vision go white with pain. But she heard the crunch of his nose breaking. Bronze blood splattered across both of them. Vector roared and grabbed her throat with both hands. He lifted her off the ground. His hands tightened and Kate could not breathe. The world started to go dark. This was it. This was how it ended. But Kate had one more move. She brought her legs up despite the agony in her shoulder and wrapped them around his neck. She locked her ankles together and squeezed with all her strength. Her thighs and core muscles, trained through years of running and conditioning, compressed his windpipe. Vector's hands loosened on her throat. He tried to pull her legs apart, but he was weakening. The lack of oxygen was stealing his strength. They fell together, crashing to the platform. Kate took the worst of the impact, but her legs stayed locked around his neck. She squeezed harder. Her vision was filled with dark spots. She could not breathe properly, but neither could he. It was a race to see who would pass out first. Vector's struggles became weaker. His hands pawed at her legs but could not break the hold. Kate felt consciousness slipping away. Just a few more seconds. Just hold on a few more seconds. Then Vector's hand slapped the platform. Once, twice, 3 times. The signal of submission. Kate released him immediately and rolled away. She lay on her back, gasping for air. The referee was between them, signaling the end of the match. Medical teams rushed onto the platform. The arena exploded with noise. Kate could barely process what was happening. She had won. Somehow, impossibly, she had won. The medical team helped her sit up. Across the platform, other medics were helping Vector. He was breathing hard, his hand on his throat. When his golden eyes found Kate, there was no anger in them. Only shock. Commander Grant was suddenly beside Kate, helping her stand. "You did it," the commander said, her voice tight with emotion. "You actually did it." Kate looked up at the human section. Her fellow cadets were on their feet, screaming themselves hoarse. Some were crying. Others were hugging each other. They were not celebrating just her victory. They were celebrating what it meant for all of them. The galaxy had just learned something important about humans. They were not fragile. They did not break easily. And they absolutely did not quit. The medical bay was quiet and clean. Soft blue lights filled the room and machines hummed gently as they worked. Kate lay on a biobed while nanites, tiny medical robots, moved through her body to repair the damage. Her shoulder had been fractured. 3 ribs were cracked. Her entire torso was covered in bruises that were already turning purple and black. The medical staff had told her she would be healed in 48 hours. On Earth, injuries like these would have taken months to recover from. Here, the Coalition's technology could fix almost anything in a matter of days. Kate was grateful for that. Every part of her body hurt. In the bed across from her lay Vector. The Tharn warrior's injuries were less severe but more numerous than the medical staff expected. Kate had managed to damage his knee badly enough that it needed extensive repair. His nose was broken. His throat was bruised from the choke that had ended the fight, and his body was covered in marks where her strikes had landed. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Kate was too exhausted to talk. Vector seemed lost in thought. Other cadets came to visit. Humans approached Kate with expressions of pride and relief. They whispered encouragement and thanked her for what she had done. Tharn cadets visited Vector with concerned faces. They spoke to him in their own language, which Kate's translator did not pick up. As the hours passed and the medical bay grew quieter, Kate found herself thinking about the fight. She had won, but it had been close. If Vector had been a little faster, if he had caught her cleanly with that first punch, she would have lost. She had survived through a combination of skill, luck, and sheer stubborn refusal to quit. Finally, as evening approached and most visitors had left, Vector spoke. His voice was rough and damaged from the choke. "I have fought in 137 matches," he said, staring at the ceiling. "From childhood training to academy trials, 137 victories. Not close victories, not difficult victories. My opponents always fell quickly." Kate listened but said nothing. "When I challenged you, I expected to win in seconds. I expected you to fall after the first real strike. I expected you to understand your place and yield immediately." He turned his head to look at her. "You did not fall. When I hurt you, you hurt me back. When I grabbed you, you found a way to choke me. You refused to accept that you should lose." "I was not supposed to lose," Kate said quietly. "I was supposed to fight." Vector was silent for a moment, considering her words. "What is the difference? Losing is an outcome. Fighting is a choice. I chose to fight until I could not fight anymore. That is all any warrior can do." The Tharn warrior thought about this for a long time. Then slowly he sat up on his bio bed. The medical staff protested, but he ignored them. He swung his legs over the side and faced Kate directly. What happened next shocked everyone in the medical bay. Vector stood on his damaged leg and bowed deeply from the waist. He held the position for several seconds. Among his people, this was a gesture of profound respect. It was reserved for honored elders and celebrated warriors. "I was wrong," Vector said simply. "About you. About humans. You are not fragile. You are warriors who fight differently than we do, but you are warriors. I have learned what I needed to learn. I will not fight you again because there is no need. You have already taught me." He walked slowly to his personal belongings that the medical staff had stored. He took out one of his warrior bands, the bronze medal inscribed with symbols that Kate could not read. He approached her bio bed and held it out. "Among my people, we give these to opponents who teach us about honor and strength. I have 46 remaining, but this one is yours now. You earned it." Kate took the band with her good hand. It was heavier than she expected. "I do not know what to say. Say nothing. Heal and become stronger. Then when you are well, I would be honored if you would teach me about human fighting methods. Perhaps we both have things to learn from each other." Over the next few days, word of the match spread throughout the academy and beyond. The footage was watched millions of times across coalition networks. News programs analyzed every moment of the fight. Commentators who had dismissed humans before now spoke with respect. Some even admitted they had been wrong. The betting houses that had given Kate 50-to-1 odds against winning lost enormous amounts of money. A few humans who had believed in her and placed bets became very wealthy. But more importantly, something fundamental had changed in how other species viewed humanity. The casual insults stopped. When human cadets walked through the corridors, other species moved aside respectfully instead of forcing them to go around. In the training halls, aliens who had ignored humans before now watched them with interest. Some even approached to ask questions about human training methods. Commander Grant visited Kate on her second day of recovery. The older woman looked tired but pleased. She sat beside the bio bed and smiled slightly. The Coalition High Command watched the fight. Grant said without greeting, "They have been reviewing their assessment of human capabilities. Your little demonstration has opened doors that years of diplomacy could not." "I just did not want to lose," Kate said. "You did more than not lose. You showed them what we really are. Humans are not the strongest or the fastest. We are not born warriors like the Tharn or the Drokar, but we are the ones who get knocked down and get back up. We are the ones who fight through pain that would stop other species. We are persistence made flesh." Grant paused and looked at Kate seriously. "The galaxy is starting to understand that now, because of you." 2 weeks later, Kate was fully healed and back in training. She felt stronger than before, as if the fight had somehow made her better. Her body had adapted to the stress and come back harder. She found herself with an unexpected training partner. Vector had requested to work with the human combat instructors to learn their methods. Dan Fletcher was teaching him the fundamentals of ground fighting, showing him how technique could overcome raw strength when both fighters were on the mat. "Your species is strange," Vector said during a break. They sat on the training mat, both covered in sweat. You are weak in the ways we measure strength, yet you defeat us. I do not understand how. Kate wiped her face with a towel. We are not weak. We are just strong in different ways. Your people evolved to be apex predators on your world. Mine evolved to outlast everything on ours, to track prey for days until it collapsed, to survive injuries that would kill other animals, to keep going when every instinct says to stop. Persistence hunters, Vector said thoughtfully. I have studied this about your species. Your ancestors would chase animals until they died from exhaustion. That is right. We are not built for the sprint. We are built for the marathon. And in a real fight, in a real war, that matters more than who is stronger in the first minute. The Tharn warrior nodded slowly. I understand now. My people have always valued immediate dominance. We pride ourselves on winning quickly through superior power. But perhaps we have forgotten that true strength comes in many forms. As the training session ended, Kate thought about how much had changed. She had come to the academy hoping to prove that humans belonged. She had ended up teaching an entire galaxy that every species brought unique strengths to the coalition. That dismissing anyone as weak was a dangerous mistake. The warrior band Vector had given her rested in her quarters. She looked at it sometimes, remembering the fight and what it had cost her. But more important than any trophy was the knowledge that she had changed something fundamental. Human cadets now trained alongside other species as equals. Instructors incorporated human endurance training into their curriculum. And throughout the coalition, military strategists were reassessing what humanity could contribute to galactic defense. One fight had changed everything, and Kate knew that was just the beginning. 3 months had passed since the fight. The Galactic Coalition Academy continued its training cycles, preparing new warriors for service across the galaxy. But everything had changed in ways both small and large. Kate walked through the corridors and noticed the difference immediately. Other cadets nodded to her respectfully. Some even stepped aside to let her pass, not because they feared her, but because they respected what she represented. The humans who had once been dismissed as too weak to belong were now treated as full members of the academy community. The training schedule had changed too. Instructors had added new courses focused on endurance and persistence tactics. They studied human military history, learning about battles where smaller, weaker forces had defeated larger armies through determination and strategy. The academy library now included texts on human combat psychology and pain management techniques. Kate's days were fuller than ever. Besides her regular training, she now helped teach a special course on human fighting methods. Cadets from every species attended, curious to learn about ground fighting, chokeholds, and the kind of close-quarters combat that humans had perfected over thousands of years. Vector was one of her best students. The Tharn warrior had become something unexpected. Her friend. They trained together almost every day. He taught her about Tharn combat philosophy and their centuries of martial tradition. She taught him about human adaptability and the mental strength that came from knowing how to endure. You are improving, Vector said one afternoon as they finished a grappling session. When we first fought, you relied on instinct and determination. Now you are adding wisdom to those qualities. Kate smiled as she unwrapped her hands. I had a good teacher. Getting choked out by you a few times helped me understand what I was doing wrong. I have also learned much, Vector admitted. My people believe that warriors are born, not made. That strength comes from genetics and natural gifts. But humans prove this is not entirely true. You were not born to be warriors, yet you have become formidable through sheer will and hard work. Shiara joined them, the Vexy girl moving with her characteristic grace. She had become one of Kate's closest friends at the academy. The commander is looking for you, she told Kate. She said it is important. Kate found Commander Grant in her office, a small room filled with data screens and military records. The older woman looked up when Kate entered and gestured for her to sit. I have news, Grant said. The Coalition High Command has made some decisions based on what happened here. First, they are increasing the number of human cadets accepted into the academy. Next year, we will have 200 spots instead of 50. Kate felt a surge of pride. That is wonderful. There is more, Grant continued. They are creating a new division in the Coalition military. It will focus on long-duration operations, persistence tactics, and psychological warfare. They want humans to lead it because we have natural advantages in those areas. When does this start? Kate asked. It already has. They are offering command positions to several human cadets who performed well here. You are one of them. Grant pulled up a file on her screen. After you graduate, you would receive officer training and then command a mixed species unit, focused on endurance operations. Kate sat back, surprised. She had come here hoping just to prove she belonged. Now they were offering her a leadership position. I do not know what to say. Say yes, Grant replied. You have already shown you can earn respect from other species. That is the hardest part. The rest is just training and experience. That evening, Kate sat in the observation deck, a large room with windows that looked out into space. She liked coming here to think. The view was beautiful, stars scattered across the darkness like diamonds on black cloth. Vector found her there. The Tharn warrior had become good at reading her moods. He sat beside her without speaking, just sharing the silence. They offered me a command position, Kate said finally. Of course they did. You have proven yourself capable. Have I? Kate looked at him. I won one fight, Vector. One fight against one opponent. That does not make me a great warrior. No, Vector agreed. But it showed something more important than individual skill. It showed character. You fought when you were afraid. You continued when you were hurt. You refused to quit even when quitting would have been reasonable. Those qualities make great leaders. Kate thought about his words. Do you think I should accept? I think you should do what feels right to you. But I will tell you this. The galaxy needs leaders who understand that strength comes in many forms. Who know that the strongest warrior is not always the one with the biggest muscles. You understand these things because you lived them. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the stars. Kate thought about her journey. She had left Earth as one of 50 cadets, hoping to prove that humans belonged in the larger galaxy. She had been scared, uncertain, and painfully aware of her limitations. Now she sat beside a Tharn warrior who had become her friend. She trained cadets from species who had once mocked humans. She was being offered positions of responsibility and trust. The galaxy had learned to respect humanity, not because they were the strongest or fastest, but because they had something equally valuable, the ability to endure. I will accept the position, Kate said. Someone needs to show them what human leadership looks like. Vector smiled, his sharp teeth showing. Good. Perhaps I will request a transfer to your unit when I graduate. Fighting alongside humans has taught me more than fighting against them ever could. The next day, Kate made her decision official. She would accept the command position after graduation. Commander Grant seemed pleased but not surprised. You will do well, Grant said. Remember what brought you here. Remember that day in the arena when you chose to fight instead of backing down. Hold on to that courage and you will be fine. As the weeks passed, Kate continued her training with renewed purpose. She knew now that she was not just learning for herself. She was learning for all the humans who would come after her. Every technique she mastered, every lesson she absorbed, would help pave the way for future generations. Other human cadets approached her for advice. They asked how she had found the courage to fight Vector, how she had managed the pain, how she had kept going when everything hurt. Kate's answer was always the same. You just decide that quitting is not an option. You tell yourself that you will keep going until you physically cannot anymore. And then, when you think you have reached your limit, you find a way to go a little further. That is what being human means. The Academy graduation ceremony was held in the main arena, the same place where Kate had fought Vector months before. Thousands of beings filled the seats, watching as cadets from every species received their certifications. When Kate's name was called, the applause was thunderous, not just from the human section, but from everyone. Even species who had once dismissed humanity now recognized what she represented. She walked across the platform to receive her certification, and as she did, she looked up at the stands. There, in the front row of the Tharn section, sat Vector. He was on his feet, applauding with the rest. When their eyes met, he brought his fist to his chest in the traditional Tharn salute of respect. Kate returned the gesture, and the crowd's applause grew even louder. After the ceremony, as cadets celebrated and families congratulated their graduates, Kate found a quiet moment with Commander Grant. You changed everything, Grant said simply. You know that, right? One fight and you changed how the galaxy sees us. Kate shook her head. I just refused to quit. Anyone could have done the same. No, Grant said firmly. Not anyone. It took someone special to stand up when everyone expected you to fall. It took courage that goes beyond physical strength. You have that, Kate. Do not ever forget it. As Kate prepared to leave the academy and begin her new assignment, she took one last walk through the corridors where she had spent so many challenging months. She passed the training halls where she had struggled to keep up, the classrooms where she had studied coalition history and tactics, the medical bay where she had recovered from her fight with Vector. Each place held memories, both painful and proud. She had arrived here as a nervous cadet, hoping to prove she was not weak. She was leaving as an officer who had shown the galaxy that humanity's strength came not from muscles or speed, but from something deeper, the absolute refusal to give up. The transport shuttle waited in the hangar bay. Kate boarded with several other graduates, both human and alien. They were all assigned to new posts across the coalition. As the shuttle pulled away from the academy, Kate looked back at the massive station one last time. She thought about everything that had happened. The challenges, the pain, the fear, the triumph. She thought about Vector and how their fight had turned into mutual respect and friendship. She thought about all the humans who would come after her, who would have an easier path because she had refused to back down when it mattered most. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Never underestimate someone who refuses to quit. Size and strength mattered in a fight, but they were not everything. Heart mattered, determination mattered. The will to keep going when everything hurt, when victory seemed impossible, when everyone expected you to fail. That was what made the difference.